All right, we gotta break this down, guys. I actually am back. I've left since I've said goodbye to you guys. I've left for the night. I came back because Ariel put out a piece. It was real simple. Talking about Islam, and he's talking about Volkanovski. He said, here's what Islam did not get enough credit for. Okay. Slow news day. I'm having one too. But I click on it. Ariel said that Islam wasn't given enough credit for taking the fight in Perth. Now, Perth is disgusting. I understand that, but I'm not sure it's a step down. Have you seen pictures of Dagestan? I mean, in all fair, what did he mean by this? Well, it turned out I had it wrong. That's not what he meant. He meant taking it within a city within the country of Australia, of which Volkanovski was born. Okay. Is that true? Because Ariel went to the well a little further. He said he took the fight only 4 months after he won the belt in the first place. Well, 4-month training camp sounds like a long time to me. That doesn't seem like something unreasonable to ask for. Ariel thought he should have got more credit. The judges that went to Perth lacked respect for Perth so much, they gave the fight to the rightful winner. You came to Westland, Oregon. I'm just letting you know. You come to Westland, Oregon. You have so much respect for my city. You will not know, as a judge, if you're going to get out of that building alive. You will question that. Before you eat food back at the hotel, you will wonder if it was poisoned. You will respect Westland enough. And you will not give the opponent the victory. They had such a lack of respect for Perth, they gave the fight to the guy that 17,000 people booed. And you can look at that however you want or think that I said it funny. I said it exactly how I meant to say it. And I'm just not sure where the respect needs to come from for Islam to go into a city that is so unfearful that 3 guys cage side weren't scared of the 18,000 on the outside like this sport has always done. I think that it's very relevant. I really do. And I don't think that Volk deserves credit. I think that Volk was owed something good to happen to him, because the part of the Volk story that has always been left out is how willing he is to fight anyone at any time. He never should have fought Max Holloway the 3rd time. That was a career suicide. Now, I get that that's an expression. I get that it was dominant and he was fighting all of that. That's an expression, career suicide. That was the single worst decision he could have made. In that, there was no other decision. There was no other opportunity you could have come to at that same time that would have been worse. But he redid it anyway. And all he asked for when that was done is that he didn't have to wait very long and get right back in there again. He wanted in there so quickly, I'm talking about Volkanovski, that they failed him. They failed to get him there as quickly as he could, so he went and made up a fight for himself. He said, well, I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to do it at 55, and I'm going to back up, and I'm going to, I mean, he went and did that. He didn't want to wait. So they do get him a turnaround. He gets to come back another 4 years, 4 months later, and he gets to do it within the ever so unfearful Perth. And if we're going to rematch these guys, because, boy, it sure feels like we should. And not necessarily for the reasons that you'd want a rematch. Sometimes you default to it, right? You just default to it. So there's no other 55-pounder you'd like to give that opportunity to, because they've all stunk it up. We had the former champion in the building who didn't do one piece of media that whole week. Apparently, he thought like someone wanted to fly him out first class and ship him back and forth to a hotel. Apparently, he wasn't smart enough to know there was an exchange in that. And you sitting in the front row wasn't it. But what I'm sharing is, okay, so do you want to give a title shot to a guy that is doing nothing to get it? Or do you want to wait for the one that you want to wait for anyway? You want to wait for Fiziev versus Gaethje. That's what you want to wait for. See what happens there. Maybe get Fiziev into the mix. it becomes a problem. It really does. Of who am I going to give it to when none of you deserve it? Oh, by the way, Volkanovski does great. Well, then let's give it to Volkanovski. And they've proven that they can do business, right? Everything's fine here. Well, not so fast, because what do I do on the backside, right? Some promoters are playing checkers. You just give me to this night and prove to me it can be an exciting thing. Bob's your uncle. But you're dealing with a guy who only plays chess. So what do I do after this night? If Volkanovski beats him, which is what this whole thing's about. This whole thing is about that Volkanovski can and prove that he can and perhaps should have even gotten the nod. The whole thing is predicated on that premise. That premise turns out to be true and Volk beats him. What do I do now? I don't need an Islam Makhachev. I took an Islam Makhachev because he came with a Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't need an Islam Makhachev. I got no records with this guy. I got no plan and I got no business with this guy. But right is still right. So if he goes and he does a favor again in another record-breaking night and he loses, I got to give him the rubber match. I just got to. Well, if I give him the rubber match, that means that Volk is now within the weight class, which means I got to strip him at 45. I mean, do you see how many things happen here? Do you see how many things happen here? Or Volk doesn't win, which sends him back down to 45 against Yuri Rodriguez, who he's supposed to fight now anyway. I mean, it's really important that you do understand in this perspective. Once I move a piece and a domino effect comes in, what is my collateral damage? There is no other 55-pounder that's trying to get the fight. So right now, Volk's number one. There's no other 55-pounder that deserves it because they're not trying to get it. Not because their resume is not good and not because their skills aren't there. You have to show up for the interview. Nobody didn't run for president and then finds out on the second Tuesday after the first Tuesday of the 11th month of the year, natural born and of 35 years of age, that they're president. You had to run. So you end up in this weird thing. You end up in a weird thing unless you can answer the question. And I know you guys that say, let's give it to Volk. That's the fight. What a great fight. I know that you say that until you're asked a backup question, which is, if Volk wins, what do you do then? Well, you put Volk in there with Fadzayev. How do I give it to Fadzayev? How do I not give it back to Islam? Well, you're right. You got to give it to Islam. Okay, well, then I'm holding up the division. I mean, we just did this disaster. It was called Moreno and Figueiredo. The world wanted to see those fights so little that they demoted them. The first time those guys fought, they were a main event. They were never main event again. Right? This isn't Chael's opinion. The fight went down on the card. And what are we going to do with Izzy versus Pereira, by the way? Would you even think that it was right? Would you even think it's right that after Izzy and Pereira fight again? Like, would you even think that's right? That would be 5 opportunities. That would be 2 years of a division being held. I mean, do you even think that's right? Okay, great. But if Izzy is to beat Pereira's given him 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities. If Izzy is to beat Pereira, don't you think we got to rematch him? And wouldn't you think that's the right thing to do? Izzy's already beaten the division. I mean, do you see where it gets a little bit weird? And now, goddamn, we got to get on with it. Do you want to set a precedence of that? What, just because you had a good fight, I got to rematch the fight? That's the qualification? I expect you all to have good fights. I got to rematch every fight that's a good fight? When I do a show every Saturday and I give it 2 of the night bonuses for performance? I would have nothing but rematches here. There has to be another reason. There has to be some way we can get on with it. That's where the clash comes in. That's where the controversy comes in. That's where screaming foul ball, while unsportsmanlike, is so important. There has to be something more than that was a good match. I expected it to be. And you're not going to get more from these guys. You're just not. But you're not going to get more from the field either. They brought Oliveira to Perth. You know what that looks like? I mean, you guys just see him on camera there, and he's sitting there, and he's doing whatever Oliveira does. Do you understand what it took to get him there? They had to invite him. which means they had to go through a manager, which means they had to work out something. Once they worked out something, they find out he wants a first-class ticket, but they already booked him in coach. So now they got to call back. They got to upgrade that to first class. And at the absolute last minute, and only a fighter would pull this, he informs you that his girlfriend's coming, or he's not getting on the plane. All right, you're now $50,000 in plane tickets to today's flavor of the month because he got her the world's greatest date ever on your black card. But once they land at a hotel where they have, or once they land at a city where they don't speak the language, they don't have the money, means you got to get them a car. All right, so now this couple right here, she just got a first-class ticket at any rate, we're going to take him to a hotel. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, he's going to demand a suite. These are small things. These are no problem. I'm just sharing. This is the way this works. Well, then when he goes to check in, he doesn't have a credit card, and the hotel won't let him check in without a credit card on file, which is where the boss calls and puts the black card down, and now everybody's going to the spa and eating lobster, just so you understand how these things work. Now, at some point, he comes down to the lobby where they pick him up in another car. They take him and the flavor of the day off to the fights. They put him in beautiful seats, and they bring a camera at some point. That camera comes on. And the guy, with 2 funk-class plane tickets, his own private transportation, a suite, and your black card for the week of lobster tails and spa visits, looks at that camera, and he tells the world. Now, does that seem like an equitable arrangement to you?